Have we gotten any requests for contributions yet?
For the next year, we've gotten a couple and they are pretty much the same that we usually get. So the first ones that have come in is Life Flight, and those couple that we get every year that just want, $100, $150.
Thank you.
Vika, have you had any applications for the bookkeeper job?
We have received one application so far, and it is somebody that says that one way or another they have a knowledge of Shebig, but they are looking to do the job 3 days a week remotely. And so she, I suggested that she submit her resume and her information, but then waiting a little bit longer to see if we have any other options.
Thank you.
Vika or Donna, do we have many people in the audience?
Two.
Okay.
Yeah, we have Beth Wiles and Michael Porter.
Okay. I guess Jay is having quite a time of it. Do you guys want to kind of get going? What do you think?
Was that his feeling, Bo, when he talked to you?
Yeah, he said just go ahead. He's going to keep trying logging on. So,
Okay.
Okay. So this is a budget workshop of the Board of Selectmen. This is January 11th, 6:06 p.m. This is workshop mode, so there will be no formal business or votes taken tonight, but we will be doing some consensus of the Board of Selectmen for where we want to start with our capital improvement items. What I'm suggesting tonight, and I'm going to take suggestions from you all if you want to do something different. What I was suggesting we do is literally start on our packet, page 31, which is the capital improvement page, and go right down through each item. I'll read where it stands, what the current balance is, what the projected 2022-23 amount is, if there is an amount, and ask for any suggestions, comments from the board, ask for any suggestions, comments from the public, and move to item 2. And then after that, we will visit the Machias Savings Bank full page of reserve accounts for any additional suggestions, comments. How does that sound to people?
Sounds good.
Sound okay? All right, so we are on page 31 of your packet. Department 9,000, which is capital improvements. I'm going to start with reserve account 9010, which is the infamous dredging account. Current balance is $47,400. $47,518.29 on the Machias Savings Bank, so roughly $47,500 current balance. There is nothing put in there as of yet for the 22-23 next year's budget. As we know, we are going to have an additional 10% local match due. I think Mark Hable just sent that email out to you, Don, and he said that would be after July 1 of 2022. Is that accurate?
Yes, and just my rough calculations, which I wouldn't want to go to the guillotine over, that we will owe them approximately 99. We'd have to raise another 99,000 to pay for that, because we have, we just made a payment of 28,000 out of the 47.
Yeah.
And so, and we have to pay approximately $228,000. So we have some of it in there. So we're talking about raising around, 109, I'm not 99, 199,000. That we've got to figure out some way, time between now and town meeting, whether we take some out of undesignated fund balance, whether we take some out of the capital budget, or whether we do a loan, or whether we bond it all, or we bond part of it. We've got a smorgasbord of opportunities, but that's a big one right there that we've got to figure out.
Yeah, so if I may, really quickly, I was in contact with Justin Poyer today. I sent him a text with some questions. He sent me back an email. I will just read you. I asked him if he was going to be prepared, if he was still our town administrator, to make a suggestion of how we accomplish this funding of roughly $200,000 for the dredging. He basically wrote back, the dredging can be done in a number of ways because the town meeting did authorize a bonding already. I was going to wait and see what the budget priorities were and recommend some measures of borrowing, but hopefully be able to pay for at least some of it directly through the capital budget process. I think your statement is an interesting one, or something to think about, Donna, at least about, do we go back to the well one more time and ask the voters for permission to use any of our undesignated fund balance? I don't know if that's the prudent way to proceed or not. It's according to what the fund balance is and where we are with our percentage of the balance, right?
Yeah. And it may be a combination.
Yeah. So does any of the selectmen, or Vika, do you have a comment right now about your initial gut feeling about the dredging? Go ahead, Bo.
My gut feeling is to go out to Matthias Bank and get a loan for it. That way, if we later on down the road we choose to pay it off a little quicker, we can. With a bond, we lock into X amount of years. I think trying to get it out of undesignated funds will drain us quite a bit, and then will leave us a little dry than I'd like.
Yep. Okay.
I think that said, I think that we do need to figure out what that percentage is, because last year we were way over the percentage, and even after taking the money out for dredging, we were still at a little bit over what we're supposed to have. So it's possible that there will be some money, maybe not the whole thing, but we could take some of it.
Yeah. Jay, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Finally got
Glad
on
you-
the internet.
Glad you made it. You didn't miss anything. Would you like me to bring you up to date very quickly? We're talking about number one item, which is dredging. As you know, there are many ways to tackle this balance due, which Donna has estimated roughly just under $200,000. I asked Justin if he was going to make a recommendation, and he really was not that prepared to make a recommendation until we dug into our budget as a whole, especially the capital budget. Bo just brought up his suggestion that he thought we might be better off to think about just financing it through Machias savings at hopefully a low interest rate, which we could possibly have an option to pay off early. That's what you've missed so far. So you're welcome to chime in.
Thank you for the update. When I went through all of this, looking at what the whole picture looked like, my initial reaction was that I figured we needed $210,000 to pay off the balance of the dredging. given what we have left in the account. And my initial reaction was that we should just include 210,000 in the capital budget and be done with it. I can understand that there's some justification for spreading it out, but I wouldn't want to spread it out more than a couple of years at the most.
Okay. Jen, do you have an opinion on dredging before I make a suggestion of moving on possibly?
Not at this time.
What's that?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. So it sounds like right now we're not prepared to put anything in under 2023 initial. Is that accurate from what I'm hearing for consensus from you all right at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to talk about it again.
Okay,
I think we ought to pay it, if we don't want to pay the whole thing off, we ought to pay at least some of it off.
Yeah, one thing, Jay, you didn't hear was my question about, we need to understand what the undesignated fund balance is, because that may be part of that payoff.
I think we've tapped into the undesignated balance more than enough already. We keep approaching it, at least some folks think of it as a savings account that we can just tap into whenever we need something. And it's a cash flow instrument for the town so that we're not issuing tax anticipation notes and other things to cover us. I think that we need to stop tapping into that for, just any old purpose. And I think that if we want to do this on the dredging, let's pay down at least 25% of it now and fund the rest through Machias or whatever. But let's at least, I think we need to at least make a significant payment on it.
But I think that we really need to understand how much is in that undesignated fund balance, because last year it was more than our what we had as a range for the high range. And even after we took the money out to pay for the dredging, we still had more than what was our, at the top end. So I think we shouldn't take it off the table. We need more information.
Vika, do you have any comment on this dredging at this point?
No, I don't. I think at this point, it's really going to be your decision and your decision to make. And I think that, if you want me to look into Machias Savings Bank and see what their options are, I'm happy to do that. It sounds like the bond is something that you're not interested in. So you kind of let me know what you want, and then I will go from there. Okay.
How many people do we have in the audience tonight? Do we have just a couple, three, did you
We
say?
have three now.
There's three.
Okay. I would like to offer the audience at the end of each item a chance to comment on it. So if anyone in the audience has a comment about dredging at this point, please raise your hands. Can you guys see the hands?
Michael Porter's hand is up.
Okay, go ahead,
I'll
Michael.
monitor the hands.
Thank you, Donna.
Unmute, Michael.
Okay, it just takes a minute to figure out how to do that when I'm being a participant. My thought is that what Donna said makes a lot of sense, that if you have a target range for the size of the undesignated fund balance, that's what we ought to look at, because presumably if that target is wrong, then it should be changed eventually. But if you have one, then you ought to look at it and see if it allows you to take, if you're outside, if at the high end of the range or outside the range, it allows you to take something out of it. If not, or put something in if necessary. That's all.
And the other thing I think we have to remember, if you look at all of these items, we get practically nothing for $1 million something in the Machias Savings Bank for these various funds. So whatever we've got in that fund balance is not making much money. I mean, that's something else to think about too. But I'm not going to beat a dead horse. Well, I think we just revisit it another time when we have more information.
Thank you, Michael. Let's move on from dredging for now. Let's go to the next one, which is 9025. This is the Fire Department Reserve account. Current balance is $54,700 roughly. Justin has in the 2023 initial, he has $50,000. Underneath that 9025, he's currently got, we need $50,000 a year until fiscal year 2026. I guess the target here is obviously to purchase another fire engine. I think this is the last one that will replace the pumping truck. So that's the thinking here. I'm gonna open it up to any and all comments, questions, suggestions from the board. Go ahead, Bo.
I think as of right now, we need to leave that line item as it's recommended.
Okay. Anybody else?
I just have a question because I don't know anything about the fire trucks. How old is the one it's replacing?
It's an old truck that they got. It looks like something that they got from the military or something, Bo, isn't it? That was retrofitted into a pumper. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah,
So would this be a new pumper? Is that the case?
I believe, and I don't want to speak for Ralph or that department, but we've been told in the recent past that that's the angle that they want to take, is to replace that truck, which is the main truck that goes to the fire pond and fills the shuttle vehicles that then go and fill the tanks at the active fire site.
So this one doesn't actually go to the fire site?
I don't believe so, but again, you're better off asking those type of questions to Ralph and the department, and I don't believe any of those members are here tonight.
As much as I remember,
Ask the question is because if they go into fires, I think one of the things we've talked about is trying to have maybe smaller fire trucks that are more apropos to our road conditions. You know, so I don't know how big it is, but if it doesn't go to the fire, it doesn't make any difference if it just has to get to a pond.
Yeah, so I'm in the same camp as Bo. I think for now, I'm saying leave the $50,000 in there. Donna, Jen, and Jay, do you have any thoughts, or are you okay with leaving it in there for now?
I'm fine with that for now.
I think leaving the 50 is fine.
Okay,
I agree with the 50.
okay, thank you. Any comments from the public?
No hands.
Okay. The next item is 9030 building facilities. This is a reserve account that's used for, I'm going to call it light maintenance. He's got initial 2023 initial $15,000 in there. The current balance is $12,000. The note that he has at the end was we were going to have or put out to bid to try to get the transfer station roof steel beams repainted per request of the state of Maine, I guess. I'm going to say 3 or 4 years ago now, maybe. So that's what he got the 15,000 in there for. Any comments, questions? Go ahead, Bo.
When we put that under building maintenance in line item 4,000, as a one-time budget in the solid waste area. That's essentially where it's going, and it's for building maintenance.
Where are you looking, Bob?
Page 15.
Page 15, line item 4,000.
Oh, you're
He's in the
talking,
operating budget.
you're
Yeah,
talking operational.
since
yeah.
it's designated it right up to, it's designated as strictly for the dump, essentially.
Yeah,
How much is in there? I don't have that page here, Bo. How much is in it?
Well, it's in the operating budget. So
That's what I mean. How much is in the operating budget?
right now we're recommending 1,300 for this year, this upcoming year.
Only $1,300?
Yeah. But that's just for maintenance around the building,
Right.
So
I mean, I think the reason that this is in a capital project is because of the cost to it, and it's a recurring kind of thing. But even then, this isn't enough money to do it. We keep robbing from this account for other things, and we keep putting this off and putting it off. And I think if the current balance is 12,000, and we're only asking to put in 15, and we already know it costs 30, I think that we're going to have another year where we don't get it done. And what will happen is it will just cause more rust. So shouldn't we just increase that 15,000 a little bit so we have enough to actually do that project?
go ahead, Jen, and then Jay.
I was also curious because a couple meetings ago, we voted to buy the hoop shed or house or whatever, or put $10,000 to that. And it was my understanding that it came out of building facilities. Is that incorrect?
I believe that's correct.
Did we actually buy that? Did we order it?
I hope not.
No, we haven't ordered it. So I had reached out to Ralph and let him know that that vote was made, and I was going to show him a couple options of what had been looked into. And then he was under the impression that it came out of one of the reserve accounts. And so when I looked into it and got back to him, he was then gone, and then he hasn't gotten back yet. Or I haven't heard back from him yet. So there's been that miscommunication of where you voted to take the money out of. So it has not been ordered.
So I guess personally, I think that we need to revisit this, and this isn't the time to do it because we're not in a regular meeting, but all it takes is one person who voted for it to ask to have it revisited, and we can put it back on the agenda. Or that hoop house thing, because then that's going to put us even further behind here. Bo, you had your hand up?
I say just put it to 30 for right now and let's move on. And then we'll double check to see about the 10 grand.
So the 15, you would change to 30?
Yes.
Go ahead, Jay.
Oh, I don't know why you're giving up on it quite so easily. It really does belong in the operation budget. And I think what we ought to do is add 20 grand into the operation budget. And then when we come to the painting, we'll take the 10, or there's 15 left in the buildings, in that building issue. Take the balance out of there, but let's get it back where it belongs. It's an operating item. It's maintenance. It's not a capital.
So why not put the whole 30 in there?
Well, I'm figuring we use up 10 of what's in that account now and put 20 into the operating account. We do the operating budget for that
We can't
purpose.
spend the 10,000 twice. If we,
We're not spending it twice. I don't know what you're talking about.
well, if we're going to take that out of the 12,000 that we actually have there, if we're going to take out 10 to buy a hoop house, then we only have 2,000 left. So that's why I'm suggesting that maybe we put it back on the agenda and talk about it.
Right.
I'm going to go ahead and try to simplify this even further. I'm actually fine. I'm actually fine revisiting the hoop house decision, first of all, because I think I'm the one that made the motion. So certainly go ahead and put it on a future agenda to revisit. As far as moving this money over into, or this suggested money over into operations, I'm fine with that too. I like Jay's suggestion of just putting $20,000 over into the solid waste budget. Realizing that if we spent the 10, we would only have 22,000. But we don't currently have an estimate that I'm aware of.
Yeah,
We have
he went out for bid and got $30,000, over $30,000.
When?
I don't know. It says it right here. Bids were
Yeah.
30,000 plus.
It was
They're a couple of
actually,
years old.
it was
Okay, well,
actually,
then it's got to be more than that then.
yeah, go ahead, Vika.
So I recently got an email from a gentleman called Ian Kopp from Center Pro Painters, wondering where we stand on this particular project.
Okay,
And there are some emails going back between him and Justin from last April. So it hasn't been that long. I have not been able to track down an exact estimate, but there were some very detailed messages back and forth about, the size and the dimensions and things like that.
okay,
So I
Go
would,
ahead,
I
Bill.
would probably hold his word pretty well to the estimate that it says in here. I just haven't
Okay.
been able to find that quote among all these emails.
thank you for that. Bo, go ahead.
Just look through my emails for the minutes. It says, moved by Mark Dyer to authorize the town administrator to spend up to $10,000 from facility maintenance account to purchase a shelter, whatever house. So from the facilities maintenance line item, I'm assuming it's that one, buildings facility.
It was that one, yes. So where are we at with this, guys?
I think we need to do it and we need to have $30,000, and I don't care whether you call it capital or you call it maintenance.
I'm at, let's put 20 in the operational and leave the 15 in this. They'll give us a total of 35 since we already, since we might spend 10 out of.
And then we can revisit the hoop house.
I think Bo froze up. You guys are
That.
good at revisiting the old Hooper house. Okay, Jay, are you good with Bo's suggestion?
Which one?
Can you restate, can I restate your position, Bo, or is he froze up again, Donna?
He looks frozen. Oh, no, he moved. He's
Bo.
far out.
Bo, can you restate your position, please?
No, he's
No.
freezing again.
Okay, I think what he
Leave
said,
the-
I think what he said, Jay, was to leave the 15,000 proposed under 2023 initial in the
15
capital and to put 20 for now over in operations, which we will be revisiting at our next meeting with our departmental.
That's fine.
Jen?
We're revisiting.
$1,000.
I do.
Okay. I guess he's having some internet. Are you all right with that for now, Donna?
Yep. Bo just went off and you think he's probably going to try to get back on. So is there
Okay.
anybody in the audience who wants to weigh in on this topic? Yes, Beth. had her hand up and then it went down. Beth, did you want to say? Yeah, now it's back up again. Can you bring Beth up?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I don't want to muddy things up. I just have a question though. We have been talking about the facilities committee and the need to upgrade the electrical. And also to know that we are of the understanding that we're not gonna build a new facility right off. So I don't know where that upgrade would go from, but I just want to make you aware that that's a top priority. So that's all I have to say. And again, sorry to muddy up the whole thing.
Do we have
That's
an
okay.
estimate? Mark, do we have an estimate for that electrical work?
Well,
Or
that's
Beth?
just, that's what I was gonna ask Beth, if they had any guesstimates at all or anything from any electricians.
I would like to try to get an answer for you as soon as I can. See if I can reach out to somebody that will help us with that. I know that Bo was going to talk to Ken Pelton. So let's see what we can do and get it back to you.
Vika's got her
Okay.
hand up.
Thank you, Beth.
You're welcome.
I
Vika's
just
got
want
her
to
hand
clarify
up.
that we're still talking about the transfer station, correct?
Yes, but I think she's talking about building facilities, which in that could be the electrical upgrade, maybe.
Right. So did we lose Bo?
Yeah. He'll probably try to come back.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead, if you don't mind, and I'm going to move to the next topic. Is that okay with people?
Yes.
The next reserve account is 9031. That's new town office. Current balance $45,400. Proposed is $10,000. Comments or questions from the board, please?
I think we should continue to fund that because they're going to need money at some point to do a plan, and architects are not free. And
Yep.
so we're building towards a plan.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Jay.
There's already 45 grand in that account. A little more than. I think that'll cover a plan with money to spare.
Okay,
I still think we should keep funding that.
Vika, are you still on that committee?
Yes, I've participated throughout the entire process.
Okay. Do you have a feeling about this proposed money and the balance in there?
I think that I would agree in continuing to put money in because I think that whenever anything starts, it's going to be significantly more expensive than probably anything we're going to have in the reserve account.
Okay. Jen, you good?
Yeah, since mom's the chair, there's no way I'd say not to fund that.
Well, maybe she can't hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, she can because she's actually elevated. Oh, Bo is there trying to get in, Vika.
Oh,
Hey, Bo.
Oh, we just spent $2 million while you were
Yeah,
gone.
We just funded the new town office, but thanks for coming back.
So I'm gonna shut my video off to see if it'll help.
Okay.
So
Okay. So
you guys
Bo,
all know what I look like, so.
yep. So Bo, we are currently on item 90, account 9031, new town office. Balance is 45,400. Proposed is $10,000 in there. Do you have a comment or feeling about that?
No, I think we should leave that in there.
Yeah, I'm kind of good with it too. comments from anyone in the public? You see anybody waving their hand frantically, Donna, or?
No, not even unfrantically.
Okay. Anything else from anyone before we go to the next one? Okay. Account 9032, land acquisition and development. Current balance $2,800, nothing proposed. Jay, do you have a comment on this?
I think we ought to just leave it alone.
Okay. Anyone else?
I guess, I don't know. I think that we should put something as a placeholder because there's a lot of discussion about workforce housing and, you know, what might happen with some of the land that the town has. And we might, I don't know, I don't think it would hurt to put 5,000 in there.
Okay. Any other board members or Vika?
I think we should leave it like it is.
I wouldn't fund it.
Okay. I think I'm good with where it is for now. We can revisit it later on if you'd like to. Anything from the public?
No,
Okay. Next account is 9033, and that is the solar array purchase. Current balance 45,108. We need $17,500 per year. And I think the purchase price is
78.
thank you. Yeah. Just under 80,000. Any comments or?
no, I don't think
Feeling
we don't have any choices on that one. That's not a debatable one.
Okay. Anything from anybody in the public? All set. Next item is 9034 Broadband Reserve. We have a current balance of $50,000 and nothing is proposed for 2023 initial. I have been in touch with Michael Porter, chairman of the Broadband Committee. I asked him and to ask his committee if they had a feeling of whether we were going to be up against startup costs, especially anytime soon, or this year, or the beginning of next fiscal year. I told him obviously what the current balance was on that account. He and the committee are not of the opinion that we need to add to that $50,000 as of right now. Comments or questions from any of you?
I think one thing that we should remember too is that there is some money in the grant matching fund that if we needed to have, you know, a match, that would be my only question. I think there's like 28,000 I saw someplace in that fund, and that would give us 75. Michael's on here. I just am curious as to how much of a match some of these grants might take. Michael's got his hand up.
That's why I asked him, because we chatted quickly about it at our last meeting. Go ahead, Michael, when you're ready.
Okay, I guess I'm on. The grants we're looking for, the big one, the Connect Main grant, which would be in the neighborhood of, I don't know, $500,000-600,000, doesn't have a specific match requirement. Well, it does, 700, amounts to about 350,000. But what it does require is evidence of community support, and that is the evidence of that is the bond authorization. It's not specific, no specific match. The grant from ARPA, from Cumberland County, of ARPA money, has no matching requirement at all.
Oh, that's good. So
And
your
it's long.
thought would be if we got that Connect Main grant, then we would have that we don't have to have a special town meeting, then you can go out to bond. Is that what the idea would be?
The idea is we would bond whatever the grant doesn't cover. I mean, we try to get the biggest grant we can. And there are many factors in how they score it. So we have to try to balance something that will be high scoring with getting as much money as we can. And then whatever that doesn't cover is what we bond.
And you said the ARC money doesn't, that doesn't impact what we would qualify for Connect Main, right?
No, in fact, we could use that as
Part of the match?
community support, as a match,
Yeah.
in effect, yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you, Michael.
You're welcome.
Anything else from anybody before we leave this account? Okay. The next reserve account is 9035. This is the vehicle reserve. Current balance $3,200. Proposed is $5,000 more dollars. I asked Justin what his thinking was with that $5,000 recommendation. And basically, at some point, we probably need to replace either the big black old police car or maybe even the blue Toyota at some point. And maybe we look into the new lease options that are available to municipalities of electric powered type vehicles, which seem to have some benefits for some towns. So that was his thinking there. Comments or questions on this one, please?
So we're not ready to buy, we don't need to buy anything right away.
No, there's no sense of urgency here, but that was his thinking, putting the 5,000 on top of the 3,200.
Yeah, that does make sense about the electric cars.
Questions or comments from any of you?
My thoughts are, I think we need to get some kind of lease going, or at least get if we're gonna be driving people around in a town-owned vehicle, that it should be, my thoughts, at least inspected, or be able to be inspected yearly.
Or at least have the door be able to close.
Yes.
That was a joke. Anyone from the public have a comment or question on this one?
Don't see
Nothing.
any.
Okay. You all set, Vika?
Mark,
Yeah.
if we go into a lease purchase, does it come out of the reserve, or would it be in the regular operating?
I really don't know that specific breakdown. He had checked with some municipalities that had leased these electric vehicles, Nissan, Hyundai, and I forget the other one, maybe Kia or somebody. But it basically had worked out with almost costing the town nothing at all after some rebates from the state.
Okay.
But
I
we're
would think
gonna,
it would be in capital, because when we lease purchase or whatever we're doing with some of these, the town trucks and all that stuff, don't we count that as, when we're making the payments as part of the capital budget?
I guess so, Donna. I don't know. I don't know the technicalities of that. All that I know is we start our capital number requirement or qualification at $7,000 or $8,000, don't we?
Right.
Any more questions on vehicle reserve?
Nope.
Okay. Next one is 9045. This is the reevaluation reserve account. current balance is $54,900. The goal here is to have around $75,000 in fiscal year 2023. I asked Justin if he and Jackie, our current assessor, had talked about whether that $75,000 would be an adequate number for a quality reevaluation for this town. He seems to think that it would be. What he wrote to me was the reevaluation should be done as soon as you can all get the process started, including public hearings and educating the public on what they are all about. Reevaluations, that is. Yes, we anticipate the total cost of around $75,000. The project could get started without all of the money in hand because it will probably take 2 years to implement. It would create new reval values as of April 1, 2023, but likely would not be completed until sometime late in 2023 for an April 1st, 2024 implementation of the new values. In other words, the new tax bills with the new valuations and the mill rate would probably not go out until 2024. So he's recommending putting $20,100. Is that right? Am I reading that right?
Yes,
20,000.
and that, yeah,
So he's recommending $20,100 in there for 2023 initial. Comments and questions from anyone?
I had a conversation with Jackie in the, I don't know, a month or so ago, and I happened to be in the town office. And she said that, that she can start this right away because there's going to be a lot of paperwork that has to go into this because the last revaluation was such a mess. And that they've really got to look at every piece of property in detail again. Because, you know, I think that we all, if we're all honest, we will admit that we didn't get our money's worth out of the last revaluation. And that's one of the reasons we have to do it again so quickly. And also because of the rates. And I think her point too was the same that he made, that we need to start the education process right away. We have a lot of new people who have moved here who may not understand how it works. And I think we need to get the community involved in it. And we need to bite the bullet and just go for it.
Okay. Go right ahead, Jen.
Sorry, I might have said this. When was the last one again?
It was about 4 years ago, but it
And
went about 3 years because there was so many errors in it that there were so many appeals. It took a long time to get it straightened out. At the time, it was obvious that we weren't really ready, that the people who were doing it weren't ready. But in the end, it was much worse than anybody had anticipated.
And about, on average, how often does a town reevaluate?
It depends. It's whenever you're, theoretically, it's at least every 10 years. And it's whenever your property values go below 75%. And what she did was to keep us from having to do it a year or so ago, is that she just took everybody's values and raised them by 25% to get us back to the state average. And what happens is usually a third of the people stay the same, a third go up, and a third go down. When it comes to the actual money, it's not the value, it's how much your taxes are.
Yep. Thanks.
Any other questions from the board or the town administrator?
I would encourage this through talking and working with Jackie over the last couple of years, and seeing the mistakes and the messes that she's found when she's looked at the properties. I mean, there are some properties where it was the wrong picture of the wrong house, and when she, for example, shortly after she started working here, I asked her some basic information about the house that I was living in, and my house was assessed as having a full basement. It didn't have a full basement, for those of you that know what I lived in before. So the assessor before did create quite a big mess. So I think that for everyone to really get the fair value out of it, this is probably something that we should do.
And I think we're lucky to have Jackie right now, and I don't know how long before she will retire. And I just think that, we need to strike while the iron's hot.
Yep, I agree. She's great. When she comes, she takes any of the building permits that have been issued, and she goes and she looks at them. Either Chris or I take her for a drive. So she really takes the time and effort to really see the places, to really get an understanding. And she picks our brains if we know the property or if we know the house. So she's definitely a valuable asset at making sure that those numbers are accurate.
One of my favorite questions that she ever asked me if I was one of the owners of the Gil Martin property. I said, no. I just found nails into the boards. That was funny. Any questions from anyone in the public?
No,
All set? So for now, we're gonna leave the $20,100. The next reserve account is 9050. I apologize for all of the estimates and emails that I've been sending you, but I've had quite a time getting the paving company to give us the information needed, but we now have it. I'm going to give you a very simple, quick assessment. Last year, we had a contract with them for about $186,000 and change to do a pretty sizable chip sealing program on a lot of our roads. We were unable to do that because of their schedule changing because of a big storm down off of the eastern seaboard that they had to go rebuild roads. So we have that money in there. Currently, we have a reserve in the paving of $226,000. So that contract is still available to us. It is going to go up about $4,300, $4,500, whatever it is. It's going to go up. I'm sorry to say that to you, but that's the way of the world at the moment. And then we have a new set of estimates from them. This is for overlay cold mix pavement for Chandler's Cove Road, Old Cart Road, and the tops of Fenderson and Caps Road for a total of just under $140,000. So if you add those two amounts, it's about $330,000 if you wanted to consider trying to have a big road program. Justin is recommending under 2023 initial in this account, $75,000. That would be about $30,000 or $40,000 shy of what I just listed out for you. I'm sorry if that was confusing, but I tried to make it as simple as I could. Any clarifications, comments, or questions from town administrator, road commissioner, or the board?
I would like to say that I think we should add it. I think we're a little bit behind in what our schedule was going to be. We had hoped to do all these roads in 10 years, and we're hitting close to 15. And I think we should just bite the bullet and do it, because then on top of that, we have to think about the Stone Wharf Road. And do we start saving for that? Or do we think we're going to do that in this next fiscal year as well? But that's another discussion. But I think that this pretty much finishes our road plan, doesn't it?
Not quite. We basically, we're going to have to deal with South Road from Roy Hill Road to the inn.
Oh, this doesn't include that?
No. Jay, I think you had your hand up, and I can't see Bo. I can't see Bo, so.
The number I put into this account was to either add 150 or 175,000, which covers the two proposals that you emailed us. And the other question is because I'd love to see us get done with this portion of the program. The other question was the $40,000.
Yes.
Where's that from? Is that work that was done?
No, so here's how it's gonna break down, and I think, I thought I forwarded you all of the, contracts, but I will get together with Vika and make sure you get the correct information. So basically, if you take last year's contract, which was $186,000, and I'll call it $500,
Right.
and you add the amount that it has to increase, which brings it up to about $190,000. It's about just over $4,000. And you then deduct the $40,000. Was it $40,800, Vika?
40,973,000.
Yeah, so you subtract the 41,000 from the 190,000, Jay, and that's what we will owe All States Asphalt to accomplish the chip sealing program. About
Okay.
150 grand. Does that
Okay.
Can
answer?
I comment on that? So I received an email this afternoon. That's probably the one that you're talking about, Mark. And right before the meeting, I did forward it to all of you. And what Doug does is break it down, kind of what Mark just said. And so I think once you see the email, probably make a lot more sense what that $40,000 bill that I was talking about, the $4,000 increase and the original invoice. So the cost right now is $150,102.50. So that's what that last year's contract that was sent to you, that's what it will end up being.
Yeah, and Vika, I asked the road people this question, which you may want to follow up with on them. We probably are going to have to reapprove an amended contract with them now to really do it correctly, because this chip sealing contract they're sending us now does now include Firehouse Road, because we did not have Firehouse Road in that. Remember, we took Firehouse Road out because we had to dig it back up in two sections, Donna?
Right, but then now it's done, so we could add it back in.
So you should understand that it does include now to chip seal Firehouse Road, which I think is the right move. Did that answer your question, Jay?
So the $41,000 is really part of the 186.
That's right.
Okay.
Basically, yeah,
That's the
basically
short
what-
answer that I needed.
Yeah, basically what happened, Jay, is they trucked over the stone. It's all over at the town garage if you'd like to get a look at it. It's lovely looking stuff.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And they were getting ready to do the project and then had to pull the plug, and it's been sitting there ever since. And then I thought they had already billed us for it, but he asked me, he knew we were trying to hire a new town administrator, and I said, we're trying to hire a new town administrator. And he said, well, you think I can send a bill soon for the stone? And I said, yes. And then once we hired Vika, I gave them her name, title, contact. So hopefully they'll get in touch with you. I'll make
I
sure they
have the
do.
bill.
As far as the road paving situation, you should also understand that this is just to simply overlay Chandler's Cove Road as it sits today. There is no plan in this for pricing to widen that road in any way, in any amount of pavement at least. So I just want you to be clear on that. And I'm wondering if Bo can hear us. Is he participating?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Usually I see you raising your hand, so if you need to talk, somebody's gonna have to tell me.
Yeah, I've actually held my hand up a couple times, but then I noticed my video was off. So
You can,
So-
Bo, you can go down below and raise your hand and I can see it on your screen if you do that.
yeah, I was just waiting. So so my thoughts are, let's put in another 160 or 170 to make sure we cover enough to do the project and get it done. Because we'll need 150-ish if I did my math right.
Well, the math is not that high.
Yeah, so if we have 226 right now, and
Yeah.
we're gonna take out 40 something, so that leaves us with about the 186, so that one's covered. And then, how much did you say the other one was, 130?
Yeah,
40.
so Donna, you should understand that once you take out the 41,000, the one that used to be 190,000 is now a balance of 150,000.
Right, that's what I was thinking, yeah. So
you
is
have-
130 or 140 enough to get, if we put that in this year?
So it's 150,000 to pay the balance of the chip sealing after you pay the 41.
Yeah,
And then it's another 140,000 to do the paving on the 4 roads.
If you take the $150,000 that we just talked about out of currently what you have in the reserve, that would bring you to a balance of $75,897. And then you would need that 140 that you're talking about for the ongoing projects for the next time around.
So I did the 150 that we have remaining on the original contract, plus 140, which is the new contract, minus 186,000. That's the remainder that we have in our reserve. We're at 104.
yeah, so let's say we said 120. Is that enough?
Yeah. So Donna, are you proposing changing 75,000 under 2023 to 120,000?
Yes, just to give some extra in case we need to think about that.
Go ahead, Jay.
I would suggest that we put more aside in case we actually get close to doing something on the Wharf Road, and we'll have a little money in that account ready to go. So my thought would be to do 175, which is what we had been putting aside every year.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am too.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Jen, do you have a comment on the or question?
Yeah, but nobody's gonna like it.
Go ahead. That's why you're
So-
here.
Yeah, so my feeling is that we just do the chip sealing this coming year only. And that it's my hope that we figure out more about what we're doing with the stone pier and what we're doing with the Wharf Road. And that maybe we'd have a broader scope, so that the following year we could do more paving instead of, I don't want to pave something and then have some other plan in place that's going to change it. And I think people are really happy with all the roads and what's been going on. And I think they're thrilled when things get chip sealed. I think it's, it's improvement and it's great. So I think holding off another year for Old Park, Gunderson, and Chandler's Cove isn't going to freak anybody out. So that would be my proposal.
Okay,
I have to say, I've had a lot of complaints about the Chandler's Cove Road, especially because of COVID, more people are using it. I really do think that that's a priority. That was supposed to have been done, what, 8 or 10 years ago? Wasn't it, Mark, that we were down there?
a lot of things were supposed to be done 8 years ago, yeah.
Bo has his hand raised.
Who does?
Bo,
Sorry, Bo, go ahead.
It's fine. So I'm in agreement to put 175 in.
Okay. Anything else from anybody, the board or Vika before I go to the public? Okay, anybody from the public? Can you see anybody?
Nope.
Okay, so as of right now, I think it's consensus tonight that we're gonna put 175,000 in that 2023 initial. Okay. Next account is 9055. This is Public Works Equipment. Current balance $20,300. 2023 initial, Justin has in at 35,000. I asked him if he had any specific recommendation for that piece of equipment or replacement for that division. All that he said was replace the gray F-250.
Mark, is that the line that the payments are going to come out of for the new truck we just bought?
The new truck that we just bought is over in debt service. You'll see it over there.
Oh,
when
okay.
when you're looking at your departmental stuff, preparing for our next meeting,
Okay,
which is Saturday, February 12th, 9 a.m. But that's where you're going to see the Public Works, the new plow truck. The new plow truck is financed through the bond bank. It is a 6-year loan. And this first year is interest only at about $600. After that, it's 6 years at just under $22,000 a year, just for your reference.
thanks.
Okay.
Yep.
Comments or questions on this Public Works equipment line 9055, please?
How much does one of those gray trucks cost?
Well, right now, a lot. Right now is the worst possible time to buy a truck or a vehicle, but I
mean, are
don't have
we
the,
saving for it, or do we have enough to buy? Or will we have enough to buy it? I mean, how close are we? Is it going to be one of these catastrophes where all of a sudden somebody comes to us and says the truck just fell apart on the schoolhouse road? Or is it something that we're going to buy in 2 years? I guess that's my question.
yeah. I don't know that specific answer. I think you could get a while out of that truck by doing a few things to it. I think Bo and I suggested either building a steel or a wooden bed, or even buying a bed and putting a new bed on it for a while to get some time out of it. I guess I have a little bit of a different take on this department myself. I would like us to consider maybe putting some money in this reserve account, department 9055, a line 9055. But I'd like to go back to thinking about what is the actual operation and the need, and is it that truck, or is it the tractor situation? And do we want to address the $8,000 to $10,000 rental fee that we're paying yearly in that department to accomplish some mowing and some sweeping? And could it do anything else? And is the F-250 or F-350 or 450, whatever we're looking at, is that really the next vehicle on the priorities list? And how do we get there? I guess that's kind of where I am.
No, I think that makes sense. Bo's got his hand up.
Go ahead, Bo.
Yeah, I was just gonna say pretty much what Mark said. We need to look around, and then and just to answer your question, Donna, I just got a 2019, crew cab though, but it doesn't have plow or anything. I paid 55 for that one.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's 500. So you're
And you have a
looking,
lot more money though than the town does.
yeah, that's it. but you're looking 40 to 50 grand.
Okay, that's what, I was just trying to get a handle on that.
And that's just for the truck. If you put a plow on there, you're looking for a little more.
Okay.
That's my suggestion.
So if in fact that truck isn't going to fall apart, I'm kind of with Mark. I mean, I've been kind of thinking that for a long time, that we're kind of throwing money away every year when we rent those vehicles, and then we can't cut the side of the road twice. It really probably should be done in June and again, later on in the year. And if we had our own machine, we could do it when we needed to.
Go right ahead, Jen.
Is it out of the question to sit down with the Public Works crew and Vika and go over, their needs, their wants, the conditions of stuff and what's going on? I mean, because I
think
don't,
it's a great suggestion.
before we start just guessing at how much, money to shove into this account. I'd like to know what their job descriptions look like and, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Vika, you're certainly new to the job, so we'll give you a bit of a break here because you are road commissioner. I don't know if you remember that part. So I think one of the most difficult things, and we've been hoping to get better at this. I think Jay has pointed it out a number of times. We really should try and be better prepared with a identified list of existing equipment that needs to be replaced, targeted dates and prices of when that could or should or can, goals of making it happen, and showing some rationale of need, I think is Jen's point. I think that's a good one. I think it's difficult to get to without a lot of time put into it. But I think we can get there. Go ahead, Jay.
I think that Justin gave us a list of the public works equipment and a rough idea of its condition. I would love to take that list to the public works people, as Jen suggests, and say, okay, folks, where does this stand? I mean, what kind of shape is this stuff really in? And what do we need?
Are you volunteering to do that?
Sure.
I think that's a good idea if that's okay with Vika.
I think
Go
it might
ahead.
be good for Vika to go and Jay to do it together. And if Jen wanted to go, that would be a subcommittee, because you don't have to have a real meeting if you've only got 2 select persons, and that would be good for all 3 of them to have that background.
Go right ahead, Vika.
As soon as they finish with COVID.
Right.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, right now you don't want to go meet with them.
One of
Right
the,
on.
what I was gonna say, and this is something that I've mentioned to Donna, for me, personally step into this position and not knowing what truck is what label and what the title is and things like that. One of the things that I was looking to do in the coming weeks is to try to get a picture of every equipment and have the name that they refer to underneath it. So when Chuck is saying, so-and-so, I know what he's talking about, but then also correlate that with the list that Justin did provide. shortly before he left with kind of an estimated date of, what shape is it, when it needs to be replaced and so forth. So I have a better understanding of what they're talking about, but then I also have a general idea of, what the needs are of those particular things. In addition to that, one of the things that I'm hoping to do is to have them, and it's yet to be determined whether it's on a bi-weekly basis when payroll is, or a monthly basis, have them submit some kind of a report with an outline of what they've done, what kind of equipment they worked on, what kind of equipment is going to be needing to be worked on in the coming weeks and months. So then that way we have a report to submit to you, so you have an understanding of what's going on, rather than having on a need basis of, our plow is broken, or our, grader isn't working, whatever the equipment is. So then this way there's kind of a track record of what's happening with those things, and you have a general idea. But then also it gives me an understanding, and it gives me an idea of what that machinery is, what the names are, how it's being used, and where it stands in terms of needing to be replaced.
That sounds great, Vika. I can't speak for Bo and Donna, but I think it's a great idea at some point if Jay and Jen and you want to get together and visit the Public Works and come back with a no surprise list for us.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I mean, I thank you
Yeah.
all for volunteering to do that. And thank you, Vika, for taking the initiative to, because I'm like you, when they talk about one of these vehicles, I have no idea what anybody's talking about.
Bo, you okay with that?
Yes, sounds good.
Okay, what about the proposed $35,000? Where do you stand on that?
I'd say
Well,
let's
let's leave it in there now.
Leave it in there for now.
Okay, we've got
Right.
Beth Wiles has her hand up.
Okay, just a second, Beth. So we got Bo, leave it in. Donna, what'd you say?
I said leave it in right now until they
Jay.
do the research.
Jay?
Yeah, it doesn't make any difference whether we leave it or take it out if we're going to make up our minds what we want to do later.
Okay, Jen?
Oh, I'd take it out.
Okay. I'm for leaving it in. Go right ahead, Beth.
Real quickly, as the outsider looking in, you had this on an agenda.
We
Look-
just lost Beth.
That was my fault. I pushed the wrong button. I'm sorry, Beth.
You there, Beth?
She's muted.
Oh, unmute.
Okay,
There we go.
We'll give you a second chance. Sorry.
that's
This is
okay.
like one of those when you're in a show and they put the hook on and pull you off.
Well, you probably, it's a good idea to hook me, but quickly, having just observed this from the outside, listening to you before when you had the report, I'm very excited about the way you're going to do this, and I'm going to hold you to it and hope that you have a report and it will be helpful for Vika, and I think you'll get your arms around it. I'd also like to ask the subcommittee, when they sit down, if they'll please look and see about the ambulance, if the second ambulance, if there's a possibility that that could fit up there, so we don't have a conversation about the hoop house. And that's all I need to say. Thank you.
You don't like the hoop house. That's okay. Anybody else with comments about this line item at this point in time? Okay, as of right now, we're going to leave the 35,000 in by majority consensus at least. I'm going to move on to next item, which is 9057. This is recycling compactors. We have a rousing balance of $5 and nothing in there. And I don't know that we have a need at this point. Any questions or comments from anyone on this one?
Just me, Mark, real quick. I
Yeah.
don't think we need to put any money this year into it, but I think we need to think about it because some of that equipment's either going to need some maintenance or replacing later on.
Yeah, I'm gonna be interested to see, go right ahead, Jay.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna suggest we put $5,000 in that account. We know that they cost 15,000 plus
Yeah.
some money to hook them up and whatever. So let's at least get a head start on the next one that fails.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in that camp too, and I'm also gonna be interested to see if we get any kind of report from GP Cog on that facility, and if we decide we're just in need of some sort of better, slightly expanded operation up there, but maybe not. So I'm kind of with Jay. I would suggest 5,000. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm okay with that, but I think we should change the title of it from just recycling compactors to compactors, because it could be a regular compactor that lets go.
Yeah, I think it probably prints out this way in Trio for a certain amount of time. Is that accurate, Vika?
I can check to see if it could be changed.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm just thinking, so that it's a general compactor, could be used for either one.
I'm gonna ask Jen or Bo or both of you, do you have a comment? So far, we have 3 votes to put $5,000 in the 2023 initial.
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, anybody from the public?
No,
Okay. Next page, if you would, page 32 in my book anyway. This is Department 9058, and this is easements and drainage. Current balance is $71,700. Nothing proposed for 2023 initial. Comments or questions on this one, please?
I guess my question would be, is that enough to do the Melconian and Caps Road projects? Because I think the answer is no.
Yeah, I can't speak specific amounts for Caps Road. Can you, Bo? Do you know anything about that?
I don't think it'll be enough for Caps Road. Melconian, I think there'll be, I think for this year, it'll be a simple rip wrap and culvert across, probably looking, I'm guessing $6,000 just for the Melconian one. The Caps Road, I don't know. I can't remember the whole drawing by heart.
I think that, I'm thinking right now that there's going to be a private contribution to that. So I'm taking back my thought that there wasn't enough.
But I'm sorry, just to add to this, I think because I haven't done the firehouse drainage job yet. I was going to do it in March or April. And I believe it comes out of that line item.
Oh, okay.
And that was 30.
So then maybe we do need to add a little bit more.
Go ahead, Jay.
The Caps Road project was gonna cost us about 30 grand, part of which was going to be using our own employees to do some of the work, which would actually, depending on how you wanted to account for it, could be part of the regular work schedule, or we could put a charge against this. But if you figure that the Firehouse Road project is going to be 30, Bo says, give or take, and if you figure another 30 for Caps Road and Melconian $6,000, you're pretty close to covering it all.
Yeah, I think we should put probably another 10 in there.
Yeah, I think so too, because we don't know whether the prices have gone up. And we also don't know whether our crew will be able to do what we thought, what was the engineers thought they could do, because we may have to hire it out if they don't have the right equipment. So that's, we're thinking about that, but we're not 100% sure.
Yeah,
I agree with adding the 10.
I don't even know that we have all the easements for Caps Road yet.
I don't think we do, Jay. Last time I heard some conversation about that, I think we're not complete with that. So we're going to have to revisit that as well. We're all set, obviously, for the one next to Roy Jackson and the old John Riley residence, which now has changed ownership again. The old Fran Calder house.
Mhm.
So
And
anyway,
And
I
don't
think
we
that-
have to do something else with the, didn't we need a better drawing or something? Or a description of the Melconian? I remember seeing an email from Justin that Natalie said that we had to do something, we had to have a more specific legal description.
I think we have to have the accurate lot language for the filing at the, what do you call it?
The registry?
Yeah,
So I have a note about that particular easement, and what Justin left is that Natalie needs a more precise information about where it is, how big it is, to draft the easements. And so what we need to do is we need to hire a surveyor or somebody who has a lot more detailed knowledge about the property line locations, more so than what, you know, is already present for the information.
Well, Donna, wouldn't that be the Haskell?
Yeah, we could, or Buford, but he called Buford, but he couldn't come until the spring.
Oh,
But, and
Okay.
then Justin said that perhaps Bo and I could go out there and we could look at where the pins were and measure off from that and come up with a description. But right now, everything's covered with snow.
yeah, gotcha. So where we are so far is we proposed 10,000. Any more comments or questions on this one? Jen, go ahead.
I just, in listening to everybody go back and forth about this, I just want to point out that I'm kind of concerned that, you know, Bo shouldn't be voting or suggesting on these things if he's the one doing the work. I think that's a big conflict of interest. So I would suggest Bo abstain for the legality of it.
I didn't vote for the work that I did on Firehouse Road.
Okay. Any questions or comments from anybody else from the board or Vika before I go to the public? You guys good? Anybody from the public? Question on this?
Nobody's
Nobody?
put the hand up.
Okay. Did you say there was a hand up?
No, there is no hand up.
Okay, thank you. The next one is number 9060. This is the Harbor Master Vessel and Equipment. Current balance is $6,500. They're looking into possibly getting a new motor for this boat at a cost of almost up to $14,000, I guess. And so 2023, he's proposing $7,500 added to this reserve account. Questions or comments?
Well, my question is, we basically didn't have a boat last year. And if this isn't voted on until June and we can't spend the money until July, how are we gonna get a motor? Can we buy a motor on time? You know, I mean, can we purchase and lease or whatever you call it? So we
Yeah,
have
this is-
something to start the season?
This is exactly the question that I asked of Justin and our harbor master, Gennaro. I asked the exact same question. First of all, if your recommendation was going to be replacing the motor on this boat, what took so long to get the recommendation? And even if this is approved by us and goes to town meeting and gets approved, it's not going to be on that boat until August, late
Right.
August. And what's the plan up until then? I never did get a satisfactory answer, so I can't give you that answer. Jen, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to let you all know that there aren't any motors available. That's the hard part. That whole supply and demand thing, you can't get a motor. And yeah, we haven't had a harbor master in the water now for how long? So there's a question right there.
I thought somebody said that we could get a motor from Richardson's marina up in Sebago or wherever that is.
Well, good
Yeah.
luck.
We
Yeah,
had a
Kevin,
quote from them. They're the ones that gave us the quote, and that's what the estimate of that, a little over 12,000 was. The
Well,
quote
is
on
it
that
the
one.
kind of thing where we could talk to Richardson and ask them if they, we can get it and make a deal?
I can reach out to them and ask them.
I actually worked with Richardson's wife for many years. I just
Go
want you to
ahead.
know that.
Go ahead, Jay.
Like last summer, didn't Gennaro use his own boat?
Well, it
You're
didn't
shaking
work
your head,
out.
Jen.
very-
Yes, so last summer, there was a contract that you guys agreed upon that was drafted up where he was to use his own boat, but then his own boat broke down as well. So my understanding is that that boat didn't spend a lot of time in the water either.
Okay.
His boat never went in the water.
Oh,
Rose, I got his hand up.
Go ahead.
I did find one this fall up in Thomaston, and I can't remember the name of the place, but I bought a Yamaha. So, and that gentleman, I spoke to him, he gets them, but they're very difficult to get, just like Jen said. So, and I'm in agreement with Donna. I can't see us, why put the money in there if we don't even know if we're going to get it? I'd rather just go for it. And if we got to borrow from the bank to do it, then we'll do it that way.
Go ahead, Jen.
Just to clarify, it's the sizes that are so hard. You can get a tiny one and you can get a massive, huge one. It's that middle row, which is what this boat needs, that you just can't find. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, so I took the initiative to call Richardson because just like Donna, I have friends in high places too. It's a joke. Kevin Sharp is actually one of the head salespeople up there at Richardson. So I called Kevin to ask him that exact question that Jen and some other people have said. Can you even get a motor? Are there any motors available? We're looking, if we decide to pursue it as a town, a 90 horsepower. So Kevin looked around. He sent the quote back to the town, like Vika said, and they can get us a 90 horsepower Honda with the remote control and the throttle. He told me it would be 6 to 12 weeks, and that was probably a month or so ago, right before Justin left, because nobody was really making any calls, and I knew Kevin worked up there, and because I know him very well. And so that's how that information got to the town, just for full disclosure. I'm not a big proponent on necessarily fixing up this boat so it's in an A1 condition. 14,000 is not a small amount of money to spend, as much as we use that boat. But it's a shame to have a boat. It's a shame to it's a shame to have a boat that sits over at the garage that you can't use. It's a shame to fund a position that isn't functioning. So I'm suggesting that we at least allow our town administrator to have a conversation, follow up with Richardson's Marina, and Kevin Sharp is his name, Vika. I don't know if you remember Kevin. Do you remember when he lived on here? No, you probably never knew him. He
Bo's
lived
got
on
his
here.
hand up, Mark.
Yeah, go ahead, Bo.
Sorry, I never took it down.
Oh,
That's a good way to
Sorry about
stay in the
that.
conversation.
so I'm just suggesting that we at least let her check in with Richardson, maybe have a conversation with Kevin or somebody that works with Kevin or oversees Kevin, and then get back to us on what she feels is the reality of actually getting that engine, and maybe talk to Gennaro and first of all, see if it's something that you think we should do as a town. And second of all, even if we pursue this new engine, what would the plan be from May 1st to end of August? With that division, with some sort of a marine vessel to operate the harbor master position. What do you think, guys?
I think it's a good idea to get the information. And I think that if Mika could talk to Kevin and, you know, whoever up there, and find out if they would finance it until July 1st. And then we could make, you know, we'd pay half of it down and then pay the other half after town meeting.
Yeah, I think it's at least worth a conversation.
So that we could have it in, you know, if we ordered it now, we would have it in April.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions from anyone?
And this would be an agenda item if we do this. So it's,
Right.
this isn't any done deal. I don't want anybody to think that this is all we're doing is getting information. And once we get the information, then we could have a discussion about it.
Yeah, and we're also going to have another opportunity to revisit capital expenditures on Saturday, February 26th, along with the nonprofit presentations. Okay? Any questions from anyone in the public?
No,
Okay. Next one is number 9070. This is the Coastal Access Fund. Current balance is $10,800. Nothing is proposed for 2023 initial. Questions or comments, please?
my comment is, and there's enough money in here to do this, but for about the last 15 years, we've been going to put steps at the end of Cordis Road. And Justin and I went down there last summer and, you know, to scope it out. And we were going to meet with the McNulty's, but then, and we did meet with the Bonnebakers at the time we were down there, just to make sure we put it in the right place. But we need to have, that's inaccessible right now, even though we have access down there because of the height of the banking. And so we need to put in some steps. So, you know, it's just to keep it on people's radar.
Okay. But you're not proposing any more funding at this point.
I think that's more than enough probably for what we're talking about putting in.
Okay.
It's not a really high banking, you know, it's just,
Anybody else with a comment or question on Coastal Access Fund? Board or
although now
public?
that I'm thinking about it, I do think that we need some improvements down at Chandler's Cove. And one of the things we had thought about is taking the ramp that was at the hook and moving that over to the to Chandler's Cove in the area where, you know, it floods out. So it's more of a bridge so that people who were maybe handicapped, you know, who needed some help for accessibility, it would make it easier for them. And then trying to do something different at the hook.
I actually went down and measured that, Donna, and the ramp at the hook is nowhere near long enough to span that.
Oh, it isn't?
You're gonna have to have something 12 feet to span that creek.
Oh, so we probably, maybe we should add a
Probably
little
would.
bit more money in here. Maybe put 5,000 in there just so that in case we are able to do that project. there's also some repairs that need to be done on there's two ways to get to the water at Chandler's Cove. And the ones with the steps, there's holes in the, Justin was gonna have somebody go and look at it, but I don't think it ever happened.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion is the road crew could easily construct that one at least to the left that you're talking about. Because even though that one is 8 to 12 feet long, it really is just, it's really a couple of pieces of pressure treated 4x4 and some 2x6s on the top. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, and it just lays right in the sand. You don't have to be a house builder to build that one. That's my opinion.
Yeah, well, but they do need to tie it to trees so it doesn't float away.
Yeah, I think they could drive some iron pipe right down into the clay and probably just anchor it to that.
Bo's got his
Oh,
hand
yeah.
up.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with adding, whatever, $10,000 to this to do some improvement stuff. You just gotta remember, doing anything on the beach, we gotta make sure that we're in line with DEP and stuff. So check with the code officer before we start doing any new, adding anything new or repairing.
Agreed. I will go on. Go ahead, Jay.
I was just gonna say, before we add any money to this account, why don't we get a list and go down and get an idea about what we're actually looking at in total and what we're actually likely to get done before we add more money to it?
Well, it's
Yeah.
got to be done eventually, if you want to be able to get to the shore.
That's kind of where I am. I'd like to have some sort of a plan and an estimate of what we can build ourselves and what we cannot build ourselves as a town with our current staff. Jen, did you have an opinion on this?
Yeah, I don't choose to fund it right now.
Okay. Vika, you all set before I go to the public?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that you guys aren't giving me any form of direction with this. Okay.
No, not tonight. Anybody from the public have an opinion on this, Donna or Vika?
I don't see anybody.
Okay. The last item on this page 32 is the Indian Island retaining wall. Indian Point, retaining wall. Current balance is $70,300. Nothing is proposed for 2023 initial. Comments or questions, please?
I think Barney Baker's close to coming with a proposal. He had some meetings with some of the different agencies, and we'll probably have more information in the next time we talk about this.
Okay.
I think we're pretty close with what's here, but I don't know what he found out from the final, from talking to, there were a few more people he had to talk to before he could give us a report.
Yeah. I'm fine with where it's at. Anything else from anyone? Bo, is your hand just stuck up there or you?
Yeah, no, I brought it up this time. I was just gonna ask about the Baker thing and then table this till the next budget workshop.
Okay. Anyone from the public?
We lost one of our people. We've only got two now.
Well, we do run a very interesting meeting. I would suggest that we go, I don't know if you all have the Machias Savings Bank complete list of reserve accounts. Did you get that, Jay? Nice. I'm gonna ask each selectman, starting with Donna, if you have anything, any other project fund name that you would like to talk about quickly, along with the existing balance, and whether we should be thinking about it or not. Go ahead, Donna.
Yeah, I would, in floats and ramps, I'd like to think about the 80-foot ramp at Cousins Island. And with the idea that trying to get some money from a grant for working on that. But because we have to have money for a plan before we can get apply for a grant.
So what's your suggestion?
Well, I don't know yet because we're still waiting to get an estimate of what the plan would cost.
Okay,
I just
And you're
wanted to
looking-
flag it. I'm just flagging it.
okay, so you're not suggesting anything
No,
added to the 32,000?
not tonight, because we need more information.
Okay. Do you have any other
Um,
titles that you're,
you come back to me?
yes? Bo, go ahead.
Sorry, I was on mute. So the rescue vehicle and equipment. I was wondering if we can ask Ralph if he has any suggestions on that. I mean, eventually we're gonna have to replace something, so I didn't know if he had any. I'd rather start slowly building something up on that.
So you're asking Vika to have a conversation with Ralph about that specifically,
Yeah.
okay?
Other than that, I think we pretty much touched on everything else.
Jay, go ahead if you have any items, sir.
The only other note I had, fire ponds, I don't know if we have any plans there. That's something we should find out from Ralph, if he has any, plans that he needs to develop there. I think otherwise it's pretty much covered, for the time being, at least what I made notes about.
Okay. Jen, do you have any thoughts or ideas?
No surprise, I would add money to the Stone Wharf Fund.
Okay. Do you have a suggestion tonight of an amount of money to start?
100,000.
Okay. Anybody else with a thought about that before we leave that specific item?
I do think we need to add something. Herb had estimated that it would cost about 300,000 to get a plan completed before we were ready for construction. And we will have spent about 120,000 on the stability study. And so I would definitely add a little bit more in there. If, I don't know if I'd go to 100 right now. Or maybe 50, but because there's probably at least 2 more steps that are going to have to take place before we're actually ready to do anything.
Okay. Jay or Bo?
I don't mind adding 100,000 there. I don't,
I'm in the same boat. 100 is fine.
Yeah, I'm fine with it too. One thing I'm gonna need for clarification of proper use of reserve funds, transparency, if you will, with the taxpayers and the voters. If we get ready to do a widening and improvement of the Stone Wharf Road, should we or are we able to use any of the funds on that project out of this account? That would be my question.
My question is, I guess my answer to that would be, what's the definition? We have a capital plan with definitions. These are just, brief labels. So
Yeah.
Vika can research the capital plan and see what the definition is. Because if
Yeah.
that's the case, then maybe we put 50 in here and put 50 in back into road paving, road, whatever construction, depending
Yeah.
on where it should go.
So I'm okay roughing in $100,000 as of tonight. And like I said, our next visit with capital is February 26th, along with nonprofits. Jen, did you have another item of any kind?
No, everything else is okay.
Okay. I was wondering about, this is a simple one possibly. I was wondering about barge ramps and specifically maybe a shorter term look at the one up at the stone wharf, which may or may not be feasible to fix until we raise the stone wharf. But we've got some issues with that barge ramp up there if you go up and take a look at it. So even if we don't look at it as a capital investment, we may have to do something short term. I'm going to be interested to see after the dredging is done what that's going to look like at low tide and whether that affects the bottom of that existing broken up barge ramp, which seems to be sliding and getting away from us. So that's one that I kind of wonder about, whether, I know we have $10,345 in there, but that's not going to do much. I think those planks that are up there, clear, secured, free from the state of Maine. Is that correct, Donna?
Yes, it is. So we
Yeah.
haven't got anything in it, and I'm with you on that one, because I think, and we will have enough time to be able to see, they have to be done with the dredging by the 31st of March. So we're
Yeah.
going to have an idea, because it may be that we will need something extended onto the flats to get
Yeah.
a little bit.
So I'm suggesting we put 15 to 20 grand into this. Go ahead, Jen.
Is that something that Public Works could do? I mean, they have a crane, they have, all kind of tools and such. Is that something that maybe they can look into doing?
I think they probably could tackle that, Jen. The last time it was done, one of our Public Works crews installed it. The planks were secured by the state of Maine for free. They're not as heavy duty as some ramps that you'll see certainly up in Portland and on Hope Island and stuff. But I believe they could accomplish that. Even, we may have to repair that ramp before we raise that stone wharf is my point.
Yeah, I think we may have to do it before the summer.
Yeah, Jen, go ahead.
And I'm sorry to get off topic, but it's all kind of related. In the dredging process, it was talked about that the moorings have to be moved. And I was curious to know how that's getting done, and is it the responsibility of who owns the mooring to move it? And there's not a whole lot of boats left out there. I can think of one person that could do it. But just wondered how do we go about that process, and is that something Gennaro is working on?
So the conversations I've had with Gennaro, I asked if my mooring needed to be moved. Mine's off the channel as you're coming back in to your right towards Carter's Point. Nathan just re-rigged mine for me, rebuilt it this spring. Mine was not in the area that needed to be moved. CTC had one or two great big ones that need to be moved. The barge mooring and maybe the mooring that they keep the extra boat on when the extra boat is here. So that's probably the bigger question and the bigger problem, because those would be a very big mooring, an extremely big mooring. Maybe they're going to pick it up with the equipment when they arrive. I can't specifically answer, but he seemed to be fairly on top of it the last time I talked with him. That's all I can really tell you at this point.
Maybe Vika could follow up with Gennaro about the moorings. Thank you,
Yeah.
Jen, for bringing it up.
Well, I'm curious because I would think it wouldn't be the town's responsibility to pay for the moving. It's, not, it's a personal mooring or it's a company's mooring. I would think it would be up to them to figure it out, that the town would just notice and say, listen, the dredging's going on, they need to move the moorings.
Yeah, I think that's more the point, is that
Yeah.
That we need to make sure that he's made personal contact with whomever, needs to move.
My understanding that he was responsible for following up anybody that was going to be, any towns that were going to be affected in the path of, the dredging, but then moving of it. And so he has started reaching out, but I will follow up with him just to make sure that that is happening.
Yeah, I think that was more, Vika, to let them know. So if people have lobster traps in the way of, they have to go out through and go to Cape Elizabeth. I think this is more of what's actually where they're going to dig the hole.
Yeah, and I think that's, it's for the entire project. What I'm saying is I know that from the conversations that I've had with him, he seems like he's been really on top of it and trying to make sure that he follows up and understands what his role is and what is supposed to happen. But I'll make sure that in the Stone Pier particularly that he knows and has an answer as far as who is responsible for removing of the moorings that are in the way.
And it might be a good idea to have him document that he's actually communicated with them, so that in case somebody doesn't move their mooring, they can't come back and say, oh, we didn't know. You know what I mean? Not that I think anybody would do that, but.
That crane that's coming can move it.
Yeah.
Does anybody else but me think that we should add 10 or 20,000 to the barge ramp line?
I think we should add 20 for now.
Donna, Jay, or Jen?
Yeah, I think it's the same idea as either we do it now or we wait and see, but we can change it one way or the other. So I don't care.
Go ahead, Jen.
Did you say Jen or Jay?
Jen.
I wouldn't put anything in it now. I would wait and see where we're at and what needs to happen. And 10,000 is in there now. And I think that's quite a significant sum of money to work with for what needs to be done.
Jay?
I agree with Jen. Hold off
Okay.
until we find it. If we find later on we definitively need more, we can add it in. But for the time being, leave it alone.
Yeah. I'm fine with leaving it for now. I just wanted to bring it up. I think we may have to just address that at some point, so we may or may not revisit it. Does anybody have any other?
Yeah, I had
Project.
one question, and this is really a clarifying question. Does anybody remember what the definition of the Cousins Island Parking Escrow Fund is?
Yeah, I actually had that question, and I believe that you and I should know that answer.
Well, Vika's got her hand up, so I think maybe she knows.
Yeah.
So my
Go ahead.
understanding is this is the account where every year CTC contributes $2,000 into it.
And
Yeah.
that's probably where, at some point, if we need to do some capital, something specific over there, maybe the road
Yes.
needs to be, we probably need to seal the road. I mean, I don't know, or whatever you do.
Bo
Yeah.
has his hand up.
Go ahead, Bo.
Yeah, from what I remember, it's to do the maintenance on the parking area. I don't think it includes anything like plowing or anything, but
No,
I remember a few
yeah.
years ago, Dugas gave us a bill for $4,000 to resurface with gravel or something because we had to move
Yeah.
all our cars and stuff.
Go ahead, Jen.
And I assume that when all the trees had to come down, that's probably something like that.
And also, there's been a lot of the fencing that now looks pretty decent over there. It's been replaced. I do kind of agree with the right-of-way pavement, Donna. I know Bill Shane helped us get that pavement put down, and it was controversial for a while, and Yarmouth threatened to tear it back up, so they ended up leaving it. But I hardly ever go to the town, and you know me, I'm always looking for something that needs to be repaired. So I was looking at that pavement of that right away going in and out, and that really should be at least sealed at some point. So I think, Vika, it would be a good idea at some point to talk with the town of Yarmouth, probably, right, Donna? Is that who
On
we
that,
said?
Tupper.
Yeah, and just have somebody that knows pavement take a look at it, see what they think it would need, see how much it is, and see if we're all interested in getting it done out of this account. I don't, but that is what it is. They contribute $2,000 a year, and do we contribute $1 or something?
I don't know.
Some weird
But,
thing.
well, we would contribute as whatever, we don't have enough money to do the project. But there are at least 2 holes in the pavement, that going in there, there's near Woodbury's. One's part way to Woodbury's and the other one's near Woodbury's, where there's
Yeah.
actually a pretty good sized hole.
Okay.
Right now, they're probably filled with snow and ice, but.
Are there any
that's
more
short term.
questions specifically on this list? Are there any more questions from any of you tonight?
Paul
Or are
has his
there-
hand raised, but I don't know if that's intended or not.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. The solar array purchase,
Yeah,
why does that have a balance?
Because we're saving the money and we don't have to pay it until year
Okay.
7, I think.
All right, I was under the impression that we paid them yearly. So-
No, we just save it up and then we pay them all at once.
I think year 7 is just shy of 80,000. Is that
And
what
then
you
we
said,
buy
Jack?
it. That's when we buy it.
All right.
Right. Any other questions from anybody out in the public?
I don't see any.
Okay, I think this was a good start. Do you guys feel okay about how we've started this capital discussion so far?
Yep,
Okay.
Yep.
nice job.
Our next budget meeting is going to be Saturday, February 12th, 9 a.m. And that is going to be departmental budgets. So we're going to go through every department page by page. So please go through your departments and mark it up, and we will do our best. I think we've pretty much got our answers out of Justin. I think he's sailed off into the Monmouth sunset.
And, it'd be helpful, I think Vika's already thinking about this, and I think she's already talked to some of the employees, but if we have some of the staff there when we're talking about their budget, I think it's going to be really helpful.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
happy to ask some of the staff to, or at least, Chuck, who's, the head of the Public Works, and Gennaro, just to be a presence. And that's something that I also had spoken to them going forward. If there's going to be any agenda items in relation to a new mooring or a new Public Works equipment, I am going to ask them to be a presence at those meetings so they can validate and argue, their reasons for why that equipment is needed, or for whatever, the expense is needed. So then that
And I
way,
think-
play a bigger role in participation in.
And if you
their
can get
own
Ralph
department.
too, or a representative, if Ralph
Yep.
can't come,
Yeah,
because I
so
think-
fire department, public works, and harbor master are
yeah.
the 3 departments that I'm hoping to get more involvement in, so they can.
And if Ralph
vouch
can't
for it,
come,
so.
he should deputize somebody who can speak for him, because that's been a black hole. Every time we have these budget discussions, no one, we have no idea about what it is. And I know they've got some big issues that are important, that it would be great to have somebody, if he can't come, if somebody, you know, he's willing to give somebody else the authority to speak for him. It would be great. Ralph. I said, if Ralph
yeah.
can't come, because I know he has another job.
Yeah.
If he can't make it, if he can prep somebody who can speak for him.
Before we leave, just to let you know, Vika, for my approach, at least, I'm only speaking for myself. When I look at a department, I like to look at the 2 years that are actual. And then I like to look at what we've budgeted the previous year. And then if it's the same or more, I kind of will ask for rationale of why, and I may recommend more of an average. Okay, just to prepare you. Anything else from anybody tonight?
Nope.
Thank you all. Thank you all for your participation and getting and staying on the line, and we will see you next time.
Good job. Have a
Have
good
a
night.
good night.
Yeah, thank
Good
you.
night.
Bye-bye.